Hello and welcome to another episode of Is It Bloody Working with me, JJ Stenhouse, and Alexia Leachman. Hi, Alexia.
Hi JJ, how's it going?
Going really well, actually. Thank you for asking. Now, today we're going to be talking about something which may not have crossed many people's minds who aren't in the kind of psychology, personal development world, but we're going to be talking about wanting to change, wanting to move forward. Because a lot of people kind of want to, but don't actually want to. And we'll get into that in a moment, won't we? But first of all, let's just catch up on what we've been up to in the last week. So we've been doing some incredible stuff, certainly from my point of view, because I've been getting deeply into AI because we've got a new website up and running, haven't we?
I know I've just been blown away by the build of the website. Now I've been building websites not as a web designer. Let me put that make that really
Right.
clear. Right, just doing my own websites using content management systems like Divi for many years and battling that. That's just such a nightmare. You can sink so much time and frustration into that. And now I've just built the whole of the Ladder of Growth website using Claude, and it's just been incredible how quick that process has been. I mean, I think we've got that built in probably about a week.
Yeah.
So that's now live. So do come and check out ladderofgrowth.io and see what we've been talking about. But also, while I've been doing that, I've also rebuilt a head trash website. So
I
yeah,
know,
in the
you've
past
been
two
mad.
weeks, I've rebuilt two websites. So please go and check out headtrash.com as well, head-trash.com, to see what I've been able to do with AI. Now, yes, okay, it's not the kind of website that's going to win a website design award, as my brother kindly pointed
Yeah.
out.
Your
Obviously, a
brother's
good
been very
company.
supportive. Yeah.
Yeah. But to be honest, it's way better than what I would have been able to do beforehand, and it's good enough for the job. I'm really happy with both of them. So yeah, doing website work with AI is an absolute eye opener, certainly for me.
Yeah. And it's been an eye opener for me too. Watching you get, the website together, the both. I'm actually now just going through everything and checking that everything's working, and also using AI for that. And initially you just think, oh, it's going to be really complicated, AI and all of that. Actually, so much easier. It's so much easier to say, I don't understand this. What am I supposed to be doing? And it tells you. It's
Yeah.
just brilliant, right?
It's so good. It's so good. So yeah, the website is one of the big things we did this week. The other thing, which I'm really excited about, is with our ladder of growth assessments, where we're helping you to measure, track, and manage where you are on your personal growth journey. We've got a number of assessments already in the wild. So there's one for anxiety, we've got one for burnout risk, we've got one for ADHD, and the one that I've been developing most recently is the perinatal inner readiness. So it's birth readiness. So that's a lot to do with the work that I've done with my fearless birthing work. And I don't know, when I was in the middle of developing that, I thought, oh, it'd be really good, if a practitioner could buy this on behalf of the clients they're working with and just offer it to their client as part of the work. So we've now, as part of the perinatal one, is added so if you're a perinatal therapist, for example, you can buy a bundle of 5 of those and then just give your client the code, and they don't have to pay for it, they just put the code in, and then you get a clinical report of their results as well, and they get their own personal report, so you're able to
Yeah.
see straight away what you need to focus on in the sessions that you have, which for women coming with perinatal anxiety or fears around birth is really important, because they haven't got time on their hands. They might be pregnant with a due date coming their way, and you need to get to the root of the matter really quickly. And that's what this assessment helps you to do. So yeah, I was like, wow, we can do that. So we're going to retrospectively fit that on our other assessments as well. So some really cool tools for practitioners, reflective practitioners, to use to help them get to the heart of the matter more quickly.
Absolutely. And just to clarify what ladder of growth is, for people who might not know, this might be somebody's first time listening to this or watching this. Ladder of growth is a measurement tool, but it doesn't measure your height or your weight or anything like that, your BMI. It measures where you are in terms of how much you can cope with, basically, where your anxieties live, what's going on with inside you, as a person, and how well you're functioning. So it's really great for practitioners to use because you can pinpoint where the work
Yeah.
needs to happen. You can say, oh, right, okay, so here's where a lot of the problems lie. This is
Yeah.
where people need a bit more support. to get through this bit. So it's well, I think, of course, we both think it's brilliant,
Well,
but
it is brilliant. Well, it's basically look at your internal world. It measures the state of
yeah,
your internal world. And I think we might have mentioned this last time, I can't remember, but one of the ladies that did our anxiety profile, she's like, I learned so much doing this,
yeah,
that more than I learned in all my years of doing therapy. And so that hints at, that a lot of work in therapy is just that digging around, that trying to figuring out what's going on. And that just shortcuts that. So the therapy can just get going with what needs to be doing, what needs to be done quickly, rather than wasting time on the
yeah.
gathering, the fact-finding mission, if you like. So yeah, it's good for everyone all round, really. So we're really excited to be able to roll that out quickly. So that well, not quickly, it's going to come as soon as we can over the next few weeks, but so
Yeah.
that practitioners have tools available to them to
Yeah.
help them do more work in the time they have with their clients, get to the root quicker, really.
And also to find out whether it's bloody working, whatever they're
Right.
doing. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, which brings us back to today and today's our subject of the day, which is the wanting problem. Can we say there's a difference between wanting to affect change and just wanting to want to? So some people really want to go all out and move on, get through whatever it is that's holding them back. Other people like the idea.
Yeah, they talk about it.
Yeah.
They talk about wanting to change, but they don't really do the things that are required to do the change. So
Exactly.
they make all the right noises, but there's nothing really happening of substance that's moving the needle. Now, the thing about this is that maybe they are putting in a lot of effort and they are doing all the things, but those things aren't bloody working and they don't
I
know
know.
that they're not working. Or maybe they're just talking about it and not really doing anything. And so it's just all noise and no substance.
Yeah. And in fact, a lot of people are in that
Yeah.
category. They want to more than actually wanting to. So, you go to a therapy session, you're not really committed to changing. You're committed to having shown that you are willing to try. That's about it,
That's
right?
controversial, that is. I'm sure I'm sure there are some people out there thinking, well, hang on a minute, I'm paying for the therapy, of course I want to change. And
I
they
know.
probably think they do. There's a level,
Exactly.
there's a part of them that believes that they want to change. And that what we're not saying here is that like how you just said that made it sound like there are people that go that they don't really want, they're just going through the motions. And it's not that at all. Although there might be some maybe couple therapy people that are doing that, when half of the partnership is going along just to make it look like they're playing ball and they don't really. But it's more about they think they want to change, but there's something under the surface that is putting the brakes on.
Yeah.
And they might not be fully aware of that. So there is a part of them that wants to change, but there's another part of them, a stronger part of them, that is stopping that, that's putting the brakes on, that's saying, no, 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 no. Because for me to change would require me to face up to maybe certain truths.
Right.
Maybe I'd have to change my peers, the people I have around me. Maybe I'd have to take responsibility. Like maybe there are things needed that they're not quite ready for. And so
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
what's putting the brakes on.
And actually, that's where, and a lot of people are dismissive of NLP, neuro linguistic programming, but that's one of the pluses of anything that many of the processes that are done within NLP, and that is that you don't have to go through the story, you don't have to go through the facing things necessarily to get to what needs to shift. So and not also, there are loads of things that work in loads of different circumstances. We never say that any process or therapy or anything that will help somebody is always bad. It's not, it's just sometimes it doesn't work and you need to know. So yeah, I mean, that is a big sticking point for a lot of people. Is I don't want to go into all of that, I don't want to go there. But then
Yeah.
for a lot of people, and let's face it, I've probably been in the same boat. Didn't even realize that I wasn't really willing to go the full however many yards.
Yeah. No, because I think when you do start getting your hands dirty with the inner work, you do end up having to reconcile maybe certain decisions you've made in the past or certain relationships that you've got. You think, this isn't working. And so you to face up to the truth of that, or even bigger truths in terms of the world around you, and certainly how much the world is changing right now. You have to kind of accept maybe that these changes are happening, that people are changing around you, and sometimes it's easy just to keep going as is,
Yeah.
than to fully take on board the change that's happening and really integrate it and act on it, because maybe you do need to separate or pull yourself away from people in your inner circle, and that's going to have consequences and repercussions that you're not quite ready for, so you just
Yes.
tolerate.
Yeah, it's scary as hell. It can be scary as hell, you know.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, why would you subject yourself to that?
Yeah.
But it's a bit we were talking about this the other day. We were talking about the similarities with addiction. You know, you become addicted to a certain way of being, and that might not be entirely good for you, but you know, letting go of that is, you feel, is going to be so much more hurtful or so much more difficult, that it's very difficult for you to let go.
Mm.
So and we're not saying, you know, it isn't the same as a heroin addict or anything like that, but there is an element of that, isn't there? It's the dopamine effect. It's you know, you don't want to go through the pain.
No. And also there's a lot of uncertainty. I think with the healing journey, with inner change, doing the inner work, whatever you want to call that, it's going to bring about change. I mean, and this is one of the interesting things that I find in the work that I do, is that people come to me because they desperately want change. They desperately want to feel different, but their fear of change is also blocking them in a massive way. So they get stuck between wanting the change and fearing the change, because change leads to uncertainty, and a lot of people have a fear of uncertainty.
Yeah.
So when you have a situation, and especially when people are at a lower, like in terms of our ladder, at the lower levels of the ladder, people don't want to, that they have a familiar, that they want something familiar, they want what's known, they want certainty, they don't want change, they stay in something that might be quite unpleasant because it represents a lack of uncertainty. It represents something they can be sure of, they can put their feet on it, feels solid. And the minute they start doing anything that might disrupt that, and that might include them being better or feeling better or losing their anxiety or whatever they might be doing, that represents uncertainty. And that, like, now it's like, well, now what's that going to look like?
Hmm.
And that, the fear of the uncertainty is what keeps them stuck.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
resolving that conflict is a big, I use a lot of the first sessions I have with people just on that piece alone, because once they're okay with uncertainty and change, now they can start moving forward, because now they can welcome the change, embrace it, and move forward with confidence, with excitement even,
Yeah.
rather than fear, which keeps
Yeah.
us stuck.
Yeah, yeah, you beat me too. I was going to say exactly the same thing. You have to be happy with that. But then, so how do we know whether somebody is wanting change or just kind of really likes the idea of change and kind of would love to want it, but they're not quite there yet? I mean, you can't really just sit somebody down and interrogate them, can you? And say, well, what is it you actually want? You know, do you want to change, or do you just think the idea of changing is good? I mean, how do we find out where somebody is?
Well, sometimes just asking can reveal the answer. It's interesting, these things aren't always buried that deep. I think the thing is then that the question's not always asked. And sometimes it's just a new question that's never been asked before. And then suddenly the person realizes. So I might, I've had somebody come to me who they were recommended to come to me for working on their anxiety. And they were saying something as part of the conversation. And I said, well, it sounds to me like you're really happy with your anxiety and you don't really want to let go of it. She said something like, well, how are you going to help me manage my triggers and manage my panic attacks? And I was like, well, I'm not really in the business of managing panic attacks and managing anxiety. I get rid of things like that. And so I said, it sounds to me like you want to keep your anxiety if you want to just manage it. And you could see the realization on her face at that point as she thought, oh, she realized what she just said, that actually she was wanting to just manage her triggers and manage things rather than not, rather than get rid. And suddenly, we didn't end up working together because she was clearly more into the idea of keeping hold of it and managing it rather than actually getting rid of it, because this was somebody who feared the change. And even just saying it to them, what is it that you're worried about if you do get better? Say, what could happen? What's the worst that could happen if you lose your anxiety, if you get rid of it? that might reveal the answer. Also, I've had somebody else in a very different field, very different, like this is a CEO who was fearing, she wasn't really embracing the responsibility of being a CEO. And so when I asked at the beginning, what does being responsible mean to you? She went, oh, it's terrifying. She said, it's terrifying, the idea of being responsible for others and having people coming to me and wanting me to give them guidance and direction. It's all of it's terrifying. So she was very clear that the idea of responsibility was terrifying, and yet she's a CEO. And once we resolved that and cleared it and healed it, then I asked the same question. She goes, oh, it's really exciting. I get to build stuff. It's brilliant. So the response immediately changed once we'd done that work. So I think even asking the question directly can reveal some very interesting insights as to where that person is. It's not always buried very deep.
No, and we all do, I think, know somebody who is really holding on to their hurts or their their behaviors. I talk about my mother often in that sense, in that she lived till she was 97, but she had everything wrong with her under the sun if you listen to her, and she, that was her safe space, right? Because when she was able to go and see the doctor, and the doctor would say, oh, poor you, let's sort you out, give, she got attention that way. Now, my mother, bless her, that was just the way she was. Some people just find it comforting to stay in that space of pain. Yes. Whether it's medical, whether it's psychological, whatever it is, it's much safer for so many people. And I'd love for everybody just to go, yeah, but I can change all this, which they can, right? People need to understand they can change it. But anyway, that's not quite what we're here to talk about. So, okay, so the other side of this is for the practitioner. Now, you just said something very interesting. You didn't work with this person because she realized that actually, she didn't want to change, and you were quite upfront about, no, I don't help people manage. I help people clear what's going on with them. So, there's a cost sometimes for practitioners here, isn't there?
There is. And if I told her I could give her all the coping mechanisms in the world, she probably would have started working with me, but that goes dead against the way that I operate. So yeah. So that's how I work. And there are, I think, going back to what you're saying about your mother and other people like that secondary gain.
Yeah.
It's something, again, I see so often, because the attention that people get when they're not well. There was one lady that I remember that I was working with, and she would, every week there would be one of her kids would come and see her. So I think the daughter came every Thursday and the son came on a Saturday. Or for Sunday lunch every week. And part of that was I think the daughter would bring her dinner on a Thursday, and then the son would do something else. And so she was getting all of this stuff. She didn't have to do anything. She didn't have to assume responsibility for her life. People would come and visit her where she was. They'd bring her food and they'd give her all this attention. So for her to get better, well, then what would happen to her daughter? Would her daughter stop visiting? Would her son, and would she stop bringing the food? Would her son stop coming for Sunday lunch? She was facing the possibility of losing connection to her kids.
Right.
And also maybe there was a little bit of laziness playing out there, thinking, well, actually I'll get free dinner going on too, who knows? But we do end up getting a lot when we are not well. And so do we maintain that without the thing being there, because of the love, attention that we get, the lack of maybe facing up to our own responsibilities around life? I mean, I think that's a very real thing for many people. And some people listening that might be doing that go, oh, don't be ridiculous. Of course I don't do that. No, but at some point you are going to have to look yourself in the mirror and go, am I really doing that?
Yeah.
Is this why I'm not getting better? Because you might be taking all the tablets in the world, going to see the doctor all the time and seeing, oh, can't seem to shake this thing. Well, maybe you can't shake it because there's a part of you that's holding on to it that won't let go of it, because it's keeping you in a safe place, in a place that's giving you you're getting some emotional needs met as a result of being in this state.
Exactly.
And so if you can satisfy that emotional need in other ways, maybe your body won't keep you ill in that way. Yes, I know some of these things might be hard to listen to and hear for some people, but this is what I see a lot with the work that I do.
Yeah, and I've seen it a lot as well. And there's a study done, I think it was back in 2009, called "Immunity to Change." It was published in the Harvard Business Review Press, and they found that even when a doctor tells a heart patient that they'll die if they don't change their habits, right? Only 1 in 7 follow through.
That's crazy.
It's madness, right? However, I mean, the researchers, and it's Robert Keegan and Lisa Lasko, say it's about competing commitments, meaning that there are hidden internal commitments, right? Things you're probably not even aware of. So psychological, subconscious, that directly contradict what the stated goal of change. So you might not even be unaware. So you're not even, you can't even consciously say, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this, because there's something with deep inside you that's saying, nope, 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 not going there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it? So it's like having a foot on the accelerator and a foot on the brake.
Yeah. And obviously that's such a great, powerful metaphor, and it just makes so much sense
Yeah.
that yeah, you have got that going on all the time in varying degrees, which is why we kind of feel like sometimes it can feel so hard to move forward with anything. Because there is a part of you that's putting the brakes on the whole time. And that conflict between your fears and your doubts and your goals or your values, that's the root of anxiety, is the way that I see it. You've got your values that are trying to make you, if you value commitment or you value family or you value independence, so that's going to be pulling you in a certain direction and you're going to be working towards that. But on the other hand, you might have a fear that's, oh, I'm going to be trapped if, family makes you feel trapped. And so suddenly you've got this conflict between your fear of being trapped and stuck with family that makes you feel that way and lack of independence. So all these things are pulling you in different directions. And so which is the stronger one in this tug of war? Which force is the strongest? And if you've got a fear or a doubt that's stronger than the goal or the value, then that one's going to win, and you're going to be in this stuck place where the brakes are working more than the accelerator, and you're not going to be able to move forward in any kind of change.
Right. Exactly. And there's another piece of research done back at the beginning of the 2000s, 2002, and they did an analysis, meta-analysis across a whole load of studies, and they found that goal intentions account for only 28% of the variance in actual behavior. So in other words, you can have the intentions all you want, but it's very unlikely going to help you make the change. Isn't that what that means? I mean, that's just
again, so less than a third. The goal leads to actual follow through.
Yeah.
And results.
So so this wanting to want to is a real thing that and the practitioners need to take account of, but also it's it's where, dare I say it, ladder of growth can also help, because you can see what is working and what's not working, and and you can do that without it being intrusive. So that's where we think that ladder of growth really scores here. Of course, you can't sort of prescribe how people are going to react to anything really up front, but it's an aid, I would say.
Well, it is, and I think a lot of from the work that I've been doing, over more than a decade now, I think when you have anxiety or high levels of anxiety, that's going to have a massive impact on you following through and doing goals. And that's where a lot of the stages, and we're going to talk about this in another episode, the difference, we've got 5 different growth levels on the ladder. And there's one level, the middle level, which is all about this oscillation. And so 1 minute you're like, oh, highly motivated, I'm going to do the thing. And then, oh no, you crash down again, you can't. And it's this oscillation between doing it, not doing it, doing it, not doing it. And so there isn't this follow through, this ability to kind of pursue the goal and achieve it, because you might start and then you pull back. And it's almost like you've got a juddery car. You've got your foot on the accelerator and then oh no, then the brakes kick in, and then it's almost like you've got one foot and you can either accelerate or brake, and you can't. 1 minute you're speeding off at top speed, then go too fast, quick, slam the brakes on. And it's that stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. And you don't actually go any very far at all. But once you do that inner work to raise yourself above that level, suddenly goal achievement is within your bandwidth. Now you can actually set a goal and achieve it. And the next level on the ladder is all about that precision, that goal achievement. And so by addressing the things that are rooted in your anxiety, which the ladder of growth assessment does, you can start pinpointing exactly what it is that's holding you back, deal with that, and then you can then grow beyond that oscillation level so that you
Right.
pursue goals. So the way I see it now is that goal achievement is much easier when you're at higher levels of the ladder. And this lack of follow through, this statistics of 28% are only able to achieve is because most of the people are sitting at these low levels of the ladder and they haven't got that consistency that enables them to follow through and achieve their goals.
Yeah. And if you have got any kind of anxiety, if you have a very deep anxiety condition, it's very difficult sometimes to pinpoint what's going on. You can't tell. I mean, I had an anxiety disorder for most of my life, didn't have any clue, and had no idea how it was holding me back, but it was. Right. So, it's what I'm trying to say with that is there's no shame. There's no shame here because we all have stuff going on.
Yeah. No,
Right.
we all do. I think the way that we get around that is we just get rid of the shame. That's why I called the work that I do head trash, because it's just like your rubbish in your bin at home. If somebody came round and they looked at your kitchen bin, they wouldn't go, oh my God, you got a bin full of rubbish. And then you wouldn't feel loads of shame. You're like, no, yeah, we all have bins full of rubbish. The same is true for the stuff that's going on in our head and our internal world. At some point, those patterns of behavior served you well. Maybe when you're a kid, maybe to deal with a certain difficult point in your life. But now they don't, but you're still running those patterns. Those programs are still running. So now you just need to stick them in the bin. That's it. You just need to put them in the trash and get rid. So there's nothing to be shameful about with these patterns that are keeping you stuck. Just being honest with yourself that it's running. And you're like, you know what? I don't want this to be running anymore. I want to get rid of it. No shame required. It's just about honesty to yourself. And I think this comes back to what we started at the beginning with saying, is like being accountable to yourself, taking responsibility for yourself, because that is when you can start bringing about real change. If you can't even be honest with yourself, you're going to have limited success in bringing about change, internal change.
Right. I think that is one of the prerequisites is honesty, right? But also the ability to hold up your hands and say, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, help. Just help
yes.
me through this one. I can't do it on my own.
Oh, that reminds me of working with AI just yesterday.
yeah.
Help, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, here we are, step by step. Yeah, I mean, there's no shame in that either, right?
No, exactly. And I think that's why I think we need to be talking about this. And we are, I think, with mental health awareness, everyone's talking about mental health all the time. So I think we are. But a lot of people have just caught in this loop where maybe they don't have that clarity on exactly, you saying, well, tell me AI, what's the step by step to help me get out of this and to move forward? And unfortunately, maybe some of the things being done, it's not super clear what's actually going to work, which brings us back to what this podcast is all about, is it bloody working? Because maybe people are putting in the effort and it's just not bloody working. And they're frustrated with it too, or maybe
because they're not putting the effort into the right place, because they they don't have a map to show them where they should be going next, right? They don't have a map of the journey. And so that's what we can help them with. So it's a really interesting one, this. I think it's the difference between wanting and kind of having the notion that you might want it. And part of that is, self-deception as well, isn't it? You're telling yourself, oh yeah, I want this, but actually really you don't. That's part of it as well. So I think we've probably said all that we need to say about that. What do you think? Have you got anything else that you want to
I've just
add?
got one more story I just wanted to share, actually.
Do tell.
And it was somebody I worked with. She was wanted to be a coach. So she did loads and loads of training to be a coach. And I think, but she was a nurse or some kind of clinical nurse, a nurse kind of function within a hospital environment. And so she told me she spent upward of 35 grand on various trainings. They'd even remortgaged the house in order to pay for some of this training because she really wanted to be a coach. And so when I was doing some work with her, and she was frustrated that it wasn't kind of manifesting or happening or whatever it was. So we dug into that, and she realized that she didn't actually want to be a coach when we got down to it. She loved her job and she didn't want to stop doing her job. She just wanted to do coaching on the side as a hobby. And the realization when that hit her was like, it really stops her in the tracks, because she thought for over a decade that what she wanted to do was coaching, having spent, you can imagine, like that sum of money is not insignificant, and remortgaging your house.
Yeah.
She obviously thought that's what she wanted to do. Her husband agreed with her and let her do all that. And then we finally got down to it. She realized that actually she loved her job too much and she wanted to stick with it. And so she took the pressure off and realized that she didn't want to change. And suddenly she had that insight that what she was doing was what she really wanted to do the whole time. And, that's a different kind of story, where she was doing all the things she thought she wanted to change, but actually she realized she didn't. And that's okay too, right?
Right. Yeah. And I, not to the same degree, but I've kind of been in a similar place myself at various points in my life, And then quite recently, I remember saying to somebody, oh, yeah, the coaching and stuff, that's fine, but I just don't really want to have the clients. And they said, oh, how are you going to do that then? But I think we found an answer. But it's true, right? It's you have to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
But that honesty isn't always easy to come by.
No, it's not, because the idea of something can sound wonderful, just like for you, the idea of coaching sounded wonderful, but the idea of clients didn't.
I know. Having to deal with people left, right, and center all day long. No, I'm being facetious, obviously, a bit, but yeah, there was that feeling that no, that's not really where I want to be. I don't want to be in a consulting room. I don't want to be, I don't want to be doing that. So yeah, but again, right? So what the expectations? If you've done all this training and everything, people expect you to be doing that. It's like, I don't want to. So I've walked away from that. But yeah, so okay, well, that then brings us to probably a good place to just settle down and relax and move into our little sit spot, where it's named after the practice of sitting in the same place every day. It's a very lovely meditative practice, actually. You go and sit in the same spot every day and you just notice what's changed. You don't do anything else. Just notice what's going on around you, what's changed since you were last there, and just paying attention. And it's really, really a beautiful thing to do if you have the time to do it, or if you can make the time to do it. Now, so at the end of each podcast, we're asking everybody who's listening, to sit quietly for a few minutes every day, not speak to anybody, find a quiet spot and ask yourself a question. And this week, guess what we're going to ask? We're going to ask you whether there's something that you think that you want to do. Ask yourself, do you really want it? Or do you just want it? Be honest with yourself. And we'd love to hear what your answers are. It'd be great if you could let us know. You can leave any kind of messages for us here on Substack. Get in touch with us if you're listening on Spotify. Get in touch with us at Is It Bloody Working on Substack, or individually on our social media. We're all over the place. You can Google us and you'll find us everywhere. But for now, I think that kind of closes it for today. What do you think, Alexia?
Yeah, I think that's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So thank you to everybody for listening once again. We're really grateful to having you here with us, and we look forward to another time next week, same time, sort of, and see you then.
Bye.